Welcome to this video, which is under the title Ogewe Berea Hinya, that is, knowledge is beyond strength. In this program, I would like us to view the Matatu community differently. And the title of the video is Restoring Hope in the Matatu Community by addressing post-traumatic stress disorder in the community. Many academics have been involved in the study of the Matatu industry. Notable among them is Melchizedek Hayesi and Kedi Mutongi, who in 2017 wrote a book which was hailed as a masterpiece in the transport industry in Kenya. Since then, there have been a lot of work to try and improve the Matatu industry in Kenya, and most of the common ones have proposed the displacement of the Matatu industry in Kenya. Now, from a psychopathologist perspective, and from my current studies of social work, I have begun to appreciate the need to relook and to reinvent the Matatu community, who are often presented as deranged, aggressive, rebellious, and narcissists. And they represent everything that has gone wrong in the country. You often hear people speak about Matatu madness, we are behaving Matatu culture, which is culture that is not modern, culture that is devoid of norms and values. With the eye of a psychopathologist and a social worker, I look at the Matatu community and see it as a community with post-traumatic stress syndrome and in need of therapy rather than condemnation. It needs to be treated with understanding, accommodation, therapy without judgment, respect, and dignity. You have seen often on our roads a policeman beating a Matatu driver or a Matatu tout in front of everybody, embarrassing them and beating them very badly. They are dehumanized. You have seen travelers also abuse Matatu people who often are helpless, but of course there are some bad apples in the Matatu industry who will respond and be very abusive. But instead of wholeheartedly condemning them, I'm proposing them that we restore hope by addressing their post-traumatic stress disorder. I'll begin by saying that the Matatu community is a product of systemic marginalization and inequality in Kenya. The school system rejected them. They dropped out early in school or did not pass the examinations and were at an early age condemned to go out and fend for themselves. They were also affected by land appropriation by the affluent as the city expanded, and the affluent people displaced communities and left them without land. Structural adjustments did not spare families, and we had parents dying, we had parents losing jobs, parents who could not take care of their children, hence leading to their school dropouts. And most of these children, especially boys, ended up in the Matatu industry. So the World Bank and International Monetary Fund initiated austerity measures have adverse effects on families and even dictate the behavior that takes place with the matatus on our roads. So some of the parents died early due to pressure, and children were left helpless to go out and fend for themselves. And the easiest place they could fend for themselves was in the Matatu industry. Other factors that traumatized the Matatu community included the land clashes of the 1990s and the political violence of late 2007 and early 2008. There has been other political aspects that have attempted to displace and discipline the Matatus using very violent, very colonial, very dehumanizing aspects that treat them as non-human. And in response, Matatu community responds by being violent, by being rebellious, and by breaking every law of the land. To say the least, Matatu work is stressful. They start on a regular day work. They start work at 3 a.m. and end at 11 p.m. At bus stops, there are no seats, there are no toilets or water facilities where they can relax. They are supposed to stand and, smoke the fumes of their vehicles in corners like where the KU-45 Matatus are behind Imenti House. It is an alley which is very poorly aerated, and Matatu people are supposed to stay there. They have no job protection. They are employed and discharged at the will or the whims of the employer. They are not unionized and have no job security and are paid by the day. The Matatu community's symptoms of PSD include dependence on alcohol or substance abuse like Ubero, risky behavior. For example, when you see a young man hanging on a Matatu, swinging as it is moving, poor body hygiene, violence, narcissism, use of vulgar and abusive language, aggression, rebelliousness, and breaking all possible rules, fatigue, and use of loud music to calm nerves, and reacting to every situation, even when they need not react. Matatu community experiences very traumatic experiences every day. Every day they are exposed to fatalities due to the numerous traffic accident. They drive on poor roads where bad drivers abound. There are no special lanes for public transport vehicles. They encounter police who are always out to extort their money rather than apply traffic rules. A vindicative justice system that does not collect the Matatu community and further dehumanizes them. And of course, lack of respect from travelers. Nobody really cares about the Matatu community. In fact, the Matatu community is considered as the humanist as possible, simply because people attribute them like they are already dehumanized, so they dehumanize themselves. So whenever a traffic accident occurs, I cringe. I imagine I could have been one of them because I'm a regular user of a Matatu. I imagine I could have died, I could have injured, or I could live with a medical issue. And wow, and what are the driving demands that are exerted on the Matatu? There are risk factors involved. For example, when one sits on the bus for too long, what are the likelihood of sitting on a chair for so long, for that long, on the night, during the day, from 3 a.m. to 5? And imagine the anxiety caused by someone carrying a busload of people in a minivan, and these people are entirely dependent on you. Their lives depend on the bus driver. The minibuses are not well insulated, so any slight hit on it breaks it, or it causes a dent. And this dent is harmful to the human body. They do not have protective features like airbags. The seats are squeezed without enough room between them. Belts are not factory made. Any slight accident is bound to be fatal because of the leg room, the lack of insulation, the lack of airbags, and all that. The driver is exposed because of lack of protection. The driver will be the first to perish in case of a head-on collision. The driver will also be the first to perish in the event he hits another vehicle from the back. If it rolls due to fast speed, most passengers and the drivers will perish because, as I said, the materials that make the body of the vehicle are very thin and slight. So any hit will cause a crash, and it will bend, it will be deadly to the person. If the driver survives, he may always be guilty about the incident because of the seriousness of the death. Serious motor vehicle crashes are enough to cause trauma. Fatality, near fatality, including pedestrians, cyclists, are also common. This is because Pedestrians, cyclists also do not obey rules. You find people crossing roads where they are not supposed to cross. Meanwhile, a matatu will be speeding on the road and all that. There are also no speed governors to control the movement of vehicles. The Matatu community also experiences assault, robbery, threats, and weapon exposure due to the hours they operate and the fact that they have ready cash on them. So they are a target to thieves, they are a target to burglars. They also witness traumatic injury, death on the road every other day. They do not read it, they always experience it. They also experience catastrophic incidents like fires on the road because of poor vehicle maintenance and poor roads. Any event when the driver reports feeling shaken, disassociated, panicky, or unsafe to continue driving, he loses a day's wage and he has a family because he has no job contract. So even if he is sick, have you ever wondered, when do Matatu drivers go to hospital? Do they just rely over the counter? Who has ever cared to carry a medical cam for Matatu drivers and find out what illnesses they have? So in this case, you find that Matatu community has a lot of stress, and their behavior on the road could be due to post-traumatic stress syndrome. And therefore, when we are addressing them, we need to understand the possible triggers, treat them with respect, humility, and dignity, and not to embarrass them and shame them. From my own assessment, I have observed that most of them may be suffering from depression and anxiety, especially because of the way they are quick to respond, the way they are irritable, the way they are vulgar, and also they are also most likely to be on substance abuse. I also tend to think that they also suffer from sleep insomnia, because when you wake up so early and sleep late, when you are off duty, it's unlikely that you'll be able to catch up sleep. And there is likelihood that when accidents occur, it's a function of work rule impairment that a driver who has been driving for long hours will usually sleep or just nod a bit, and then an accident occur. So you find like Matatus driving from Nakuru or from Kisumu to Nairobi or from Mombasa, or from Nyeri. A driver who woke up at 3 a.m., normally they may not sustain that awakeness for so long. Another thing I have also observed, which I used to take for granted, is when I would see them swim as the matatu moves, and I realized that this could even be ideation with suicide. As I have said, some of them have very traumatic backgrounds. They come from very traumatic background, and may even be thinking of self-harm, and their aggression, impulsivity, and they are likely to panic while driving. They could also be on pain medications because of the back. As I said, they sit for so long, they are likely to be sitting for so long, and because of sitting for so long, they may be on pain medication, and this pain medication, both over the counter, may affect their judgment, may affect their alertness, and they may nab them and sometimes cause accident. They are also under acute stress. You can imagine somebody driving from Nyahururu to Nairobi. What stress are they likely to have over the way? And on the way, they are encountering police roadblocks, police who are not sympathetic, police who are out to extort, police who are not understanding. So in this case, we note that in order to restore our Matatu community, we need to address this post-traumatic stress. And the way we can address the post-traumatic stress disorder is by understanding the triggers, face-based treatment plans, and trauma-focused therapy for them, graded return to driving, and even medication options. I'm calling upon our psychiatrists, I'm calling upon our social workers, I'm calling upon our therapists, and I'm calling upon people of goodwill to understand that the Matatu community does not just behave like that because they are only interested in money. They are people who have come to understand are suffering from post-traumatic stress. And I hope if we look at them that way, we shall reduce and cut our accidents on the road by a significant promotion. The Matatu community will also feel appreciated, they will feel understood, they will feel respected, and they feel that they are human and they are human beings. They are not people who are out to commit murder, people who are suicidal, people who are out to destroy. So I'm calling NTCA to look into this issue of Matatu people post-traumatic stress disorder, and help in healing them, treat them as human beings, work together with the police, work together with the judges, work together with social workers, therapists, and psychiatrists. I'm also telling you, these people have no insurance. So you can imagine, they know very well, if an accident happens, they have nobody to compensate them. So why would they want to be suicidal? It's our society that has dehumanized them, that has made them what they are. So let's understand them, let's restore hope and address their stress as I have outlined. Thank you very much. And I'll say, Ohiwi Bereahinya, Yoni Jerry, wishing you a very good evening. Thank you very much.